Hi and welcome to my channel. I'd like to share this video for all the mystery lovers out there, of which I'm one. Today I'm sharing with you a very interesting mystery about a man named Don Decker, aka the Rainman. History says, humans have always been fascinated in trying to have control over natural phenomena with their own minds. Some have tried to control fire, whereas some have tried with the weather, but to this date, none has so far been able to do so. However, an extraordinary event centered on an 80s prisoner. Don Decker's life claims such a strange thing actually happened in the real life. Don Decker was said to have acquired control over the weather to make rain whenever he wanted or wherever he wanted. The strange ability makes him famous all over the world with the name of the Rainman. It all started on February 24, 1983, in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, in the United States, when Decker's grandfather, James Kisho, passed away. While others mourned, Don Decker was feeling a sense of peace for the very first time. What the others didn't know was that he had been physically abused when he was a young child. Despite being in the jail, Decker got a furlough to attend his dead grandfather's funeral for 7 days. But Decker's sense of peace would not last long. After the funeral, Bob and Jeannie Kiefer, who were the family friends of Don Decker, invited him to their home to stay at the night. While having their dinner, Decker continued to stew over the memories that resurfaced during the funeral. He excused himself from the table to go to the bathroom so he could collect himself and calm down. According to him, he gradually became very emotional and his feelings started to close in on him. As this occurred, the room temperature drastically dropped, and Decker could see the mystical image of an old man like his grandfather, but wearing a crown. Following this, he felt a sharp pain in his arm, and looking down he saw 3 bloody scratch marks. When he looked up again, the figure was gone. Puzzled, Decker went back downstairs and rejoined his friends back at the dinner table. At this point, throughout the meal, Decker went into an almost trance-like state, where he was unable to do anything except stare into space. After a while, more strange happenings began to occur, with water slowly dripping from the wall and ceiling, and light mist formed on the ground. They called the building landlord to see to the water problem, and soon the landlord showed up with his wife, and they checked the entire house but couldn't find a reasonable cause for the water leakage, since all the plumbing pipes were located at the other side of the building. Then they called the police to investigate what was really going on. It was Patrolman Richard Wolbert, who was the first to arrive at the scene. It only took a few minutes for Patrolman Wolbert to become drenched in water after entering the home. Later, Wolbert described what he saw the night he entered the Kiefer house. According to Wolbert, they were standing just inside the front door when they saw a droplet of water traveling horizontally. It passed between them and just traveled out into the next room. Officer John Bojan, who had come to join in the investigation with Wolbert, also witnessed the strange phenomenon at the house. He stated that when he had entered the Kiefer house, he was literally chilled to the bone, making the hair stand up on his neck, as he went into a speechless state of wonder. As Officer Bojan could not understand anything that was happening there, and advised the Kiefers to take Decker out of the home and sit down at the nearby pizzeria. As soon as they left, the house returned to normal. Pam Scrofano, who owned the pizza restaurant, saw Decker entering the restaurant in a zombie-like state. Moments after the Kiefers and Decker sat down, they noticed the same thing began to occur at the pizzeria. Water began to fall on their heads and spread across the floor. Pam immediately ran to her register and pulled out her crucifix and placed it on Decker's skin, suspecting he may be possessed. Decker reacted instantly because the crucifix had apparently burned his flesh. At this point, it was no longer possible to stay at the pizzeria. So, Bob and Jeannie Kiefer decided to take Decker back to their home. As soon as they left the pizzeria, the rain stopped falling. Back at the Kiefers' residence, as soon as they entered the home with Decker, the rain started falling again. But this time pots and pans could also be heard rattling in the kitchen. Finally, the landlord and his wife believed Decker was playing some kind of practical joke to damage their property. Then things took a dramatic and violent turn, as Decker suddenly felt himself levitate off the ground and was forcibly pushed against the wall by some unseen force. Not long after, Officers Bojan and Wolbert returned to the Kiefer residence with their chief head, but they could not find anything unusual. So, the chief concluded the event as a plumbing problem and advised to forget it. Perhaps due to curiosity, the police officers ignored their chief and returned the following day with Lieutenant John Rundle and Bill Davies to see how things were going. When the 3 officers arrived at the home, they were pleased to note that things appeared to have settled down. Then, Bill Davies conducted his own experiment and placed a gold cross in Don Decker's hands. Davies recalled Decker stating it was burning him. So Davies took the cross back. The police officers then saw Decker levitate once again and fly against an interior wall. According to Lieutenant John Rundle's description, all of a sudden, Decker lifted up off the ground and flew across the room with enough force, as if a bus had hit him. There were 3 claw marks on the side of Decker's neck, which drew blood, of which Lieutenant Rundle has no answer for whatsoever. After that, the landlord realized the actual condition of Don Decker and wanted to help free him from the trouble. So he called every preacher in Stroudsburg and was declined by most of them but one who came to the house and prayed with Decker. Gradually, Decker seemed to come back to himself, and it never rained in the home again. Don Decker's furlough was over, and it was time to go back to the jail. While in his cell, Decker wondered if he really could control the rain. As soon as he started thinking about it, the cell ceiling and walls incredibly began dripping water. Decker immediately got his answer, so now he could control the rain whenever and wherever he wants. The prison guard making his rounds was not happy when he saw all the water flooding the cell. He didn't believe it when Decker told him he willed the rain with his own mind. The guard sarcastically challenged Decker and stated if he indeed had the power to control rain, then make it rain in the warden's office. Decker obliged. The guard made his way to the warden's office, where the position of warden was temporarily manned by Lieutenant David Keenhold. Keenhold had no idea who Don Decker was or anything regarding what occurred at the Kiefer residence and pizzeria. When the guard entered the office, he saw Keenhold sitting alone at his desk. The guard looked around, inspecting the room until he looked closely at Keenhold. He asked Keenhold to look at his shirt, which was soaked in water. Right about the center of his sternum, about 4 inches long and 2 inches wide, he was saturated with water. He was startled and truly scared. The officer was also frightened at that time, and he just didn't have an explanation why or how it happened. Lieutenant Keenhold, after understanding what was going on, called his friend Reverend William Blackburn and urgently asked him to see Don Decker. Reverend Blackburn agreed and approached Don Decker's cell. Upon being briefed on everything that transpired since Decker went on furlough, the Reverend accused him of making everything up. This accusation did not sit well with Decker. His demeanor changed and his cell suddenly became filled with a strong odor. Some witnesses described the smell as that of death, but multiplied by 5. Then the rain reappeared once again. It was a misty rain described by the Reverend as the devil's rain. Reverend Blackburn finally understood that this was not a hoax. He began praying for Decker, and sat in that cell praying with him for hours. And finally, it happened. The rain stopped and Don Decker broke down into tears. Whatever it was that affected Decker, it never manifested itself again. Decker stated that he was hopeful this will never happen again. He said his grandfather abused him in the past and had a chance to abuse him again. All he wants now is peace. The paranormal incident described above was aired on the renowned TV show Unsolved Mysteries on February 10, 1993. And earned popularity from all around the world. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this interesting mystery, because I certainly did. Please come back for more videos, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And have a fabulous day or night, wherever you are in this beautiful, crazy world of ours.